is the unfortunate realization that a lot of what was said in 2020 was performative, right?
Right.
Um,
Mhm.
I think a lot of this also is important is recognizing that inclusion is not a campaign, it is
Right.
it's a way of life. Like I can't wake up tomorrow and decide that I'm no longer black. Like that's not how this works. I'm
Right.
black 24/7,
Absolutely.
365. So what may be seen as a trend or a campaign for others is my life and my daily. So I think because of that, DE&I is something that is a part of us. I think one of the big things that I've also talked to people about is that we have to be mindful of not losing sight of the goal. So DE&I actually was never the goal. DE&I
Right.
was a medium and instrument to the goal, which is ensuring that we're getting the opportunities that we deserve.
Polish in my hand, I'm ready to create each nail a masterpiece. I can hardly wait. Soft pastels or vibrant hues, each tells a tale in their artistry of nails. Nothing ever fails. With each swirl and twirl, let the magic begin in this kingdom of gloss. There's no end to the wind. Gloss on my fingertips, watch them shine bright. Painted like a canvas, colors taking flight. Feeling fierce and fabulous, I'm ready to ignite. Slaying the nail game every single night. Nails and beauty talk with Asia the bird. Nails and beauty talk with Asia.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Nails and Beauty Talk. I am your host, Asia the Bird. Today, I have a very extraordinary guest with us today. She is the founder of Black Beauty Roster. Please welcome Maude Okrah Hunter. Hello, and how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm absolutely doing well. I want to get started by asking where you're originally from and tell us about your upbringing.
Yeah, so I grew up primarily in Worcester, Massachusetts. So originally from Massachusetts, but I
Mhm.
am Ghanaian American,
Mhm.
a proud daughter of immigrants. So my parents are both from Ghana, West
Okay.
Africa. I lived there for about 4 or 5 years when I was younger, and then we moved to Worcester, Mass, and that's where I spent most of my formative years.
All right, that's absolutely great. Now, tell us about like your school experience. Like, what was like your school experience as far as grade school, college, stuff like that?
Yeah, so I went to Our Lady of the Angels, small Catholic private school. My mom grew up Catholic, and for her, religion and education were very, very important, which I sincerely appreciate because it helped inform, a lot of the work that I do and the importance of education and that being fundamental to learning and knowledge.
Mhm.
And then from there, went to public school for about a year or so, then back to Catholic private school, and did the same for high school.
Mhm.
Again, mother was very set on religion and
Right.
education, so that
Yeah.
came two together. Then
Mhm.
went to college in Boston, Mass. Went to Emerson College, and then from there moved to Houston. From Houston, was in London for a bit. Went back and
Oh,
forth
okay.
between Germany and London,
Oh, wow.
and
Okay.
landed in DC. And yeah, that's been my story.
All right. All right. You've been all over the place. All right. So I want to get into the next question. So, what were your earliest memories surrounding beauty? Did you have any family members that were in the beauty industry?
Yeah, I mean, some of my aunts were in the beauty industry, so it was, always being around beauty in different ways, which was
Right.
appreciated. And I think for a lot of young girls, there was this piece around where we'd go to the beauty shop with our moms, and
Mhm.
from
Right.
there, also get our hair done at a young age. So I remember, very much at a young age, we would go to CVS, we'd buy the Just for Me box kit and go to the hair salon and get your hair relaxed and done and out of there and pressed for picture day. So definitely remember those moments of beauty.
That's absolutely incredible. I want to get into as far as talking about New York Fashion Week. So, you began covering backstage beauty at Christian Siriano's fashion show for New York Fashion Week. So, when you were backstage, like what was going through your mind just going backstage?
I mean, we hear a lot about what happens backstage in terms of the experience of models, but especially black and brown models, with textured hair, with deeper skin tones. But
Mhm.
there's nothing like being able to be backstage and being able to see and experience it. And
Right.
that's what we were grateful for as it related to New York Fashion Week and Christian Soriano, was to be backstage, to be able to see, to be able to, lend a level of support
Right.
as it related to the needs of some of those models backstage. But
Mhm.
it was great to see the brilliance of what happened back there.
I want to switch gears and really talk about something interesting. You have a parent tech brand of Black Beauty roster called Bonnti. So, what's the
Yeah.
mission and goal behind Bonnti?
So Bonnti, really, actually, the name is true to our roots and who we are. So with
Hmm.
me being Ghanaian American, what was interesting was when we were trying to figure out what to name the parent company and the platform, it
Hmm.
kept being like, "Oh, how do you say hair in Latin?" Or "How do you say it in Spanish?" And I was like, "What about my own
Right.
language?" And I, brought it back to truly the motherland in Ghana. The
Right.
native language is Tree, spelled Tweet, is spelled TWI. So people say it's Tweet, but it's Tree. And Bonneti
Mm.
means to braid her hair. So whenever I'd go to Ghana, one of the first things I would do was to braid my hair. And when I went through that experience, that's when I
Right.
felt my most beautiful. I felt my most confident. And I felt that I was ready to tackle Ghana in any way, which form. As I spent some years there, going back and forth while working as a professional. But
Mm.
Bonneti means to braid her hair, and like braiding, we're weaving in the experience of beauty, comfort, and convenience. And
Wow.
that's what drew the name to what we ended up calling our parent name of Bonnti. So it's true to our roots, no pun
Yeah. Yeah.
intended,
Yeah.
to who we are. Yeah.
That's absolutely amazing. I like how, it ties into beauty, and hair and things like that. That's really, really amazing. And this leads me to Black Beauty roster. So how did this community like get started, and what was the driving force behind building something that was made for Black beauty creatives?
So the big thing with Black Beauty roster was, for us, there was a racial reckoning where I think it didn't matter if you were black, white, red, green.
Right.
It caused everyone to stop, and that was really the murder of George Floyd and also
Right.
COVID. I
Yeah.
think,
Yeah.
when you have nowhere to go and all you have to do is think, I think it makes you look at life a lot differently, and I think that became true of the world in many ways.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we looked at was we were seeing some of the inequities already happening
Right.
before, the racial reckoning, as we call it. But we weren't focused on it because we were focused on really the job at hand and growing the business. But there have been instances where there were hairstylists and makeup artists that were incredibly capable, but just weren't getting the opportunities. They didn't have access to
Right.
the network, people know about them, or it was unconscious bias. And
Mhm.
equally as important was talent. So people forget that it was talent that became the driving force of what ultimately became Black Beauty roster. When I say talent,
Right.
I mean that as models, actresses, everyday people, because if they didn't have this challenge and problem of being able to get the support they need on set, we didn't
Right.
realize how bad it was, and therefore why the dots weren't connecting about really amazing, incredible hairstylists and makeup artists weren't getting the opportunity. So that became a
Right.
big part of it, was connecting the dots. And then in this discovery, what we realized was that the people making the decisions actually don't know what to look for and aren't sure about, what are the important pieces as it relates to hair and makeup. And
Right.
that's when we did a lot around education of teaching these executives of some of the top studios in the world, some of the top beauty companies in the world,
Mhm.
around what they should be looking for and what is important in this work. So
Absolutely. And it's a very great platform that you built because it really centers around like, not only creatives, but it's Black creatives, in the makeup and
yeah.
hair entertainment industry and things like that. And that's very, very cool to see. You know what I mean? That there are Black women like yourself building platforms to uplift other Black creatives, especially in the beauty world.
No, thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, most definitely. So I want to get into as far as DEI. So in this political climate, there has been a huge decrease in support of DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. What is your take on the decline of DEI support from corporations, and how vital is DEI in Black Beauty roster?
I mean, I think what you're seeing is the unfortunate realization that a lot of what was said in 2020 was performative, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
I think a lot of this also is important, is recognizing that, inclusion is not a campaign,
Right.
it's a way of life. Like I can't wake up tomorrow and decide that I'm no longer black. Like that's not how this works. I'm
Right.
black 24/7,
Absolutely.
365. So what may be seen as a trend or a campaign for others is my life and my daily. So I think because of that, DE&I is something that is a part of us. I think one of the big things that I've also talked to people about is that we have to be mindful of not losing sight of the goal. So DE&I actually was never the goal.
Right.
DE&I was a medium and instrument to the goal, which is ensuring that we're getting the opportunities that we deserve. So
Right.
now that may be called belonging, now that may be called inclusion, now that may be
Mhm.
called elephant, call whatever you want. But as long as we're not losing sight of the goal and mission, that's what's the
Absolutely.
most important part to me, because I think a lot of what's happening is a bit of a distraction. What's also
Right.
interesting, though, is that the biggest consumers of beauty are actually what's been labeled as DE&I. So
Yeah.
Black, Hispanic, LGBTQ plus communities,
Mm.
women were the biggest consumers of beauty. So, you know,
Mhm.
because of that, we see the value and impact of inclusion. And we continue to lean into that because we're in an industry that really wouldn't survive without this level of people and community.
Right, absolutely, and Black women are the biggest consumers of beauty, hair, makeup,
Yeah,
nails. This is,
yeah,
the beauty and nail industry is a multi-billion dollar industry, you
it
know what I'm
is.
saying?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and I
um
mean it is, but also I think to that point is that data and stats are important because
right.
you'll see these numbers that we make up 10% of the overall beauty spend, but there to me there's always an asterisk by that because that doesn't take into account sales that are
Mhm.
happening at beauty supply store, doesn't take into account online
Right,
sales. And when you
right.
take all of that together, it's a much bigger story and narrative that gets
Mm,
lost in it.
that's a
So
good point.
I always encourage people to be mindful of the data, and that usually with us there's a little asterisk by it all because it's not a
Right.
true telling of our purchasing power and story.
Yeah, absolutely, most definitely. So I wanna get into as far as, the Black Beauty Roster Beauty Show. So you hosted the Black Beauty Roster Beauty Summit, and now this year is the first annual Black Beauty Roster Beauty Show coming in late
Right.
July.
Yeah.
So tell us about, the Black Beauty Roster Beauty Show and how would it be different from the Beauty Summit?
Yeah, the beauty show is really the evolution of BBR. I think one of the big things was we had the summit, which really created the space and forum for us to talk about beauty. What does this look like at the different intersections? But
Right.
what we said is, how do we bring this to a bigger community? How do we bring what people have seen online and invite more to be able to participate and attend? But also, how do we
Mhm.
help connect the dots with so many brands that everybody sees online that they don't get
Right.
access to? And how do
Mhm.
we do that in the BBR mantra of an elevated experience? Because we do believe that Black people deserve nice things and we don't always get
Mhm.
nice things. So
Yeah.
how do we create that ecosystem? And that is the beauty of what we are creating. We have some amazing partners that we're getting ready to share a little bit more about. But really, it's about what does the evolution of beauty look like, and what
Right.
does this mean for Black beauty, multicultural beauty, and
Right.
we're excited to bring that to life in a few months. So
That's absolutely amazing. That's really, really cool. So I wanna take a trip down memory lane. So back in March, there was an event that was hosted at Ron Davis Studio in DC that I
yeah.
went to and others went to. There was a panel that you hosted, and you, Ron David, and the founder of Elaine Beauty, Rahama Wright, spoke about the lack of access to capital and things like that. So especially within the business of beauty and fashion. So what is your take on the lack of access to capital for Black-owned businesses, and what is considered appropriate funding?
I think when it comes to access to capital, we all know the numbers, right? Where you
Mhm.
have, as Black people in total, I think we're less than 1%. As Black women, it's like 0.002% in terms of the access to venture capital
Wow.
funding, right?
Wow.
And then in many instances is that you also have debt funding, which is your loans, and sometimes those overall percentages as it relates to the rates are exorbitantly high, which puts
Mm.
disadvantage before you even start. And I think there was a time, probably about 10 years ago, when there was a big boom, which was really more about, going to these venture capitalists, getting the funding, getting the negotiation, not realizing that not all money is good money. And I think some people
Right.
took investment that didn't need to. And there's a lot around bootstrapping that's important,
Mhm.
and really being able to build your company and grow it in a meaningful way without taking
Right.
investor money. But then it then comes to that stage of where you do need to scale at a much larger rate and you need investor money. But I just say that because I think there's a lot of brands starting now that feel as though they need venture capital money or they need these big loans, and you actually do not need it. You become
Mm,
more clever about what are ways that you can grow your brand, what are ways that you can collaborate, what are there ways that you can barter to be able to hit that next milestone before you
right.
really look into taking capital. And I think that's really important.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely, most definitely. Now, I want to ask this real quick question. What are your thoughts as far as with like Amy Cole and some of the other brands like Hanifa and things like that? What's happened to them as far as those cases?
I think those are great questions. I spoke about this on a panel maybe a couple months ago, and I think two things I'll say. One is I believe that we can hold brands accountable without being cruel. And I think what happened with Hanifa was cruel. I think that there was a level of accountability that one could argue and expect from brand, right? If you're spending your hard-earned money and you buy something, you're expecting it within a certain lead time, like you should receive it within that certain lead time, right? Recognizing there sometimes things that are out of one's control. But I think just the tearing down of a black-owned brand by our
Right,
own as publicly and as maliciously as that was, it doesn't help move the culture forward. So I
right.
do think there's a balance there. I think what
Mhm.
happened with Amne Cole was also unfortunate. I think it's one of the stories that speaks to scale, but also having the right team and advisors in place.
Right.
And I
Mhm.
say that because it is a balance between like access to capital money, but also it's about having the right people. I had an opportunity, to attend some of these closed door roundtable discussions, and I brought it up. I said, "Look, sometimes we can get the money, but we don't know how to spend it. We don't spend it wisely, and no one's having a conversation about that. Like, how are we
Right,
making sure that?" People have the right operation teams together and are able to be vulnerable enough to hit that scale when they do get that
right,
100,000 or a quarter of a million or $1 million and they don't spend it
right.
effectively. So I think there's a few things to learn around those cases. And I think
Mm,
some of that is ensuring that we can hold brands accountable without being cruel. And I think the
absolutely.
other one is about understanding how do we support brands from an infrastructure and operational standpoint that goes beyond capital, and be a voice of support in that way.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I want to push gears and talk about the committee that you're in DC. So you're
Yeah.
in the Commission of Fashion, Arts, and Events DC committee. So what was the decision behind joining the committee, and what do you think should be improved in DC as far as shining more of a light on beauty and fashion?
Yeah, I mean, I had at that time, I think it may have been the chair, one of the commissioners, reach out and, I think they've seen the work and impact we've done with BBR. And then
Mhm.
it's something that then gets appointed by the mayor of DC, and you go through a full due diligence process to be a part of the commission. But really, the commission focuses on how do we ensure that beauty and fashion companies are seen and realized as a true economic benefit to Washington, D.C. in terms of their power, not only
Right,
from a creative standpoint, but from a commerce standpoint, and from an impact standpoint. And that was the charge around understanding how do we help and support and advise in a way the mayor and her respective teams around that power of the fashion and beauty industry.
hmm
And we've been doing a lot of work around that. For us, community is a big part of that, and being able to get as many of us together as you saw with the Ron David event being part of that. But
right.
also understanding that as creatives, where the passion lies is not always with the business side. So, how do we make sure that
Mm,
people are set up for success, that their business are set up as they need to, that they have the operational support? So, those
mhm,
are some of the big things that we're thinking about in shaping the commission.
mhm. So I want to get into some more fun questions, to some
Yeah,
cool,
sure.
quick questions.
Sure.
What are your favorite beauty products and fashion accessories?
Oof. So for beauty products, I'm definitely a skin girl first. So there's different serums that I really love and use. I kind of joke around and people don't believe me, but I do not wear foundation other than when my makeup is professionally done. So actually, I used to not
Mm.
even carry foundation, but I had an incident where they didn't match me correctly. So now I carry foundation because you ain't gonna get me. You only get me once. So I don't wear foundation regularly, so I think that's one of the big pieces. I'm a tried and true girl, so MAC has been one that's always been a staple from their
Okay.
concealers, their eyeliners that I use. And then I really love discovering brands as it relates to like eyeshadows and lipsticks. That's where I kind of lean a little bit more into my discovery, but also the makeup artists that I'm fortunate enough to work with is, whatever they recommend is kind of like your doctors. You're going to take a look at that, and they really are the experts
Yeah.
from the beauty side that I love. And then, hair products, a lot of Black owned ones that we're seeing, with Pattern and Sacred and Sienna Naturals and that
Right.
coming out, which has been really good to see. So we need to support more of our Black owned brands. But
Yeah.
then also some not Black owned brands that are leaning into like, hair repair and help, like and health, like
Right.
Olaplex. And that's been
Right.
really great to see and be able to experience. So yeah.
Mhm. What is your favorite nail color and nail shape?
I'm an almond girl, and I like a soft pink nude. That's me through and through. I need to go get my nails done soon, but I'm a
Yeah.
classic girl. Yeah,
Yeah.
don't get
Really.
too creative on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to go ahead and get
I've
into
done a
the next.
little ombre here and there. Like I'll do
Yeah.
that when the summer hits, but I'm a tried and true girl. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely, most definitely. Now, last but not least, where can people find you on social media and how can people support and contribute to Black Beauty Roster?
yes, you can find us at Black Beauty Roster on TikTok and Instagram. The way to contribute is honestly to help us continue to build community. So
Mhm.
follow us, join our newsletter, sign up with us online, come to the beauty show. We're really excited about the beauty show. We're kind of calling it the Black beauty family, get together and like the cookout that's inside. Um, but really just being able to be in community with one another, learn from one another, be able to cheer one another on, all in the name of beauty is something we're really
Yeah.
excited about. So come see us at the beauty show, July 27th.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Maude, for jumping on. I
My
really
pleasure.
appreciate this conversation. It was absolutely great.
Yeah.
I know we
Thank you
met.
for your work in the beauty industry as well. This is all important. We're all doing it together. So thank you.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was great meeting you at the Ron David event and things like
Yeah.
that. I've been wanting to get you for a while, so I'm glad we've been able to
Oh,
make it
I'm
happen.
honored. I'm honored. I'm honored. So I'm
Yes,
glad it all worked out and congratulations on what you were building because this is equally as important and needed as a community. And I'm excited to see where you continue to grow from. So thank you.
yes, absolutely. Take care.
All right. Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Hello, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to click the bell for notifications. Also, follow me on my social media platforms and be on the lookout for more interviews to come very soon. Take care, stay healthy, and stay beautiful. Bye bye.